ball right here, okay? And I want you to just come over here, just come right here, because I'm just going to ask you to take this ball out of my hand. That's all. Yeah, she did good, didn't she? Right, give that back. Okay, now I want you to not take the ball out of my hand, but touch it, but don't take it out of my hand. One more time. All right, she did good. She's listening. Okay, now I want you to try to take it out of my hand. No. Okay, good. Not take it out of my hand. Just try to take it out of my hand, okay? No. I need you to just try. Here's the bottom. You did great. Let me tell you what I want to say. Here's what I'm trying to show you. There's no such thing as try. You either do it or you don't do it. Okay? There's a thing called effort, giving your best effort, but there's no such thing as try. You either get that ball or you don't. Okay? So, story time. Courtney. I'm going to tell you about Courtney. Courtney's my daughter that went on the Biggest Loser quiz. She was 435 pounds. She was 435 pounds, and she tried out for that. I call it the stupid show. Because when we went there, I was like, I want that show. They exploit fat people like we only people have problems. Let me tell you something. Everybody has something. Everybody needs each other. And so when Courtney tried out for the show, being the mom, and I know your moms can relate to me maybe even more than you do, I felt like she got rejected. Twice she got rejected. And you know why it felt like rejection? She was staring at the phone, waiting for it to ring to take her to the next level, to give it the next call. And she didn't get that call. And it made me even more upset with that show. And she didn't make it twice. And people said, well, how do you feel like that's rejection when 250,000 people tried out for the show and they're only taking 22? Well, when you have unconditional love for your teammates or for your kids or for your parents, it feels like rejection when they're sad, right? But she didn't make the show. I wasn't real happy. And I made my kids promise me one thing their whole life. Their dad and I said, one thing, you will finish college. You have to finish college. That's on us. We're going to make sure that happens. We have to make sure. Well, Courtney, when she tried out for the show, had to drop out of college because she wanted to be on that show so bad. She was just obsessed with wanting to lose that weight from the show. I prayed every day that she could learn that she didn't need a show to be healthy. And so after she tried out a couple times and didn't make the show, there was another show that came out, same producers, called Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition. Okay, you might know that show. Chris Powell is the trainer. And so they called Courtney and they said, it was the same producer, and they said, Courtney, we really want you to be on the show. So we didn't put you on the Biggest Loser because we want you to come to this show. Why don't you come out? We're going to take you to California. Courtney came to me and said, Mom, I got to drop out of school. I really want you to be on this show. They follow you for a whole year. They do like an hour documentary on you. But they follow you for the whole year. I said, all you got to promise me is that you're going back to school. She said, I promise, Mom. And she went to California with 18 awesome people. And she came back after 10 days and she said, Mom, I met the best people. 18 awesome people, and they're only taking 8 of us, Mom. And I know they're taking me. They really like me. I said, that's awesome. You're going back to school. Right. And she came in and the phone rang and they said, you were awesome, Courtney. We're taking 8 and you're number 9. Best day of my life. You know why it was the best day of my life? Because that was the day that Zippity Doo-Dah, and I call her Zippity Doo-Dah because she's happy. She really is genuinely happy. And Jillian Michaels told her one time, Courtney, you got Zippity Doo-Dah coming out of your right? Because you can't be that happy all the time. You got to sometimes get serious. Well, Courtney didn't make the show, and she dropped out of school, but she came back home. And she went to IUN because she decided she was still going to go to school, and she lost 112 pounds on her own. Okay? And that was awesome. And you know what happened after that? Biggest Loser producers start calling her again. Because Courtney was 435 pounds. She was still 323 pounds. And they said, Courtney, we want you to come. We've been following you. You're doing great. And she said, and I was standing downstairs and I heard her, thank you so much for calling. I really appreciate it, but I'm never looking back. I don't need a show. And I was like, oh, does she know she still has 100 pounds to lose? But all my prayers came true because Courtney didn't think she needed a show, and she didn't. Well, they called her 5 times. And on the 5th time, she came downstairs. She said, Mom, I don't know. They really want me to come. I know I got to drop out of school again, Mom. But I think I need to go. I said, you got to do what's right for you. Just promise me. She said, I promise, Mom. I was like, Courtney, you don't understand. I can't. I'm afraid. I can't stand in front of all of America with my bra and underwear. Courtney, please. She said, Mom, do you remember when I was 10? What you said to me? And I said, no. What did I say? She said, Mom, you told me that you would throw yourself in front of a bus for me. And I said, yeah, but I didn't say a train, Courtney. You don't understand. She said, Mom, please. But anyway, obviously, you know, I went with her because I thought I was going for her. And when I got there, I realized I needed to be there just as much as she did because I was a workaholic. And I had let myself go because I was too much worrying about everything else around me and not taking care of me first. So Courtney and I, needless to say, we got on the show. All right? Now, I'm going to tell you a little story next about Casey. Courtney's 26, Casey's 23. Casey was the kid, she was kind of the snot-nosed 8-year-old kid that played softball that looked up at me and said, Mom, I'm going to play softball in college someday. And I was like, that's great. Okay, that's a lot of travel ball. Well, we got this. And I told, you know, it was really difficult. We had a lot of travel ball with her. We coached for 10 years. There was nothing better. Nothing better. But all along, all the time when I was talking to the kids, I would remember that this isn't about softball. This is really about life. There's so much more to it. It's about cohabitating with your teammates and all the other things, and discipline, and things that you're learning. Your coaches along the way, which you have to pay attention. So I told Casey, she was like, wow, you know, we went to her first college, first, you know, tryout, and they asked her to come for a visit. And they moved to Northern Iowa. This is a true story. And they offered her a full ride, first college. And she said, no, thank you. And she said, well, I didn't like it. I said, what do you mean you like it? They offered you a full ride. Are you crazy? She said, Mom, you told me I was going to feel it. And I didn't feel it. What was I thinking? I mean, I don't know, but she didn't feel it. And we went to several other colleges, and they didn't offer her full rides. We went to BU. The BU wanted her. She didn't feel it. I said, oh, Lord, when's she going to feel it? You know? And we went to Youngstown State. The coach saw her, and the coach said, you know, I want you to come for a visit. And we went to Youngstown. I don't know, Youngstown State, are you kidding me? I mean, well, okay, we're going. She bucked the whole way, too, and kind of I did, too. And we went there, and he offered her a scholarship. And it wasn't a full ride for the first year. And we were driving home, and I thought, oh, I don't know, Youngstown, she's not even going to be safe there. I'm not sure if I like Youngstown. And you know what she said? I feel it. I feel it. She said, Mom, that's where I'm supposed to be. Of course. And I said, no, I don't think so. Are you sure? She said, I'm sure, Mom, that's where I'm supposed to be. And I got home, my husband and I were like, really? And we weren't sure, and I called my sister and said, you're not going to believe where Casey she wants to go to Youngstown. What do I say to her? My sister was silent. I said, what, are you stunned, or what are you saying? What's wrong with you? She said, I think that's where she's supposed to be. I said, why are you saying that to me? She said, do you know who was born in Youngstown? I said, no, I have no idea. She said, Dad. My dad was born in Youngstown, Ohio. My dad was gone for like 10 years. And you know what? My sister convinced me that my dad was going to be watching over her for those 4 years, and I believe that he was. She's finishing up her 5th year now because she wanted to be a teacher, and when you play softball in college, they want you to play that 5th or work that or be there that 5th year because you can't do your student teaching. She wants to be a special ed teacher. Okay? Courtney told me when she was 435 pounds that she wanted to go to school and help people lose weight. I couldn't understand it all, but I know one thing, it's not my plan. Courtney's helping lots of people lose weight. Casey's going to be, and you know what? I could die and have peace tomorrow. You know why? Because I know both of my kids, like probably most of you, understand why God put us on this earth, and that's to serve other people. That's what we do. Because when you are there for your teammates, there's nothing better. It might not show up on the scoreboard. There's nothing better. So Casey finished, I'll finish up with, sounds like I'm bragging about her a little bit, but she broke every record in the book at Youngstown State. She was Horizon League Pitcher of the Year last year. And I'm very, very happy to tell you that she's finishing college. And Courtney graduated a couple of Decembers ago. So I'm going to change the subject on you for a second. Okay? I'm going to talk about being an expert. Because, you know, Randy will brag. I know he bragged, oh, she's an expert. She's coming in. She's an expert. I know what he said. just let everybody else learn from your mistake too. We don't have to dwell on that. When we dwell on that, it becomes worry. You know what happens with worry? It affects everybody else around you. It affects your coaches and your teammates and everybody else. So pick it up as a learner and throw it away. It's over. And you'll be the expert. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid of making mistakes at all because they're important. That's how we get better. Stinking thing, it doesn't work, and guess what? Nobody wants to come to your pity parties.